When the fate of the Third Reich was already decided and the Red Army was getting closer and closer to Berlin, a few months before the collapse and his own death, the Führer gave an order: fight to the last man. Hitler called his Hitlerjugend members to die a heroic death for the sake of National Socialism. They wore oversized uniforms and helmets dangling from their heads in Königsberg, Breslau, Danzig, and Berlin. According to the recollections of Soviet soldiers, the first wolves, drugged with the ideas of superiority, had fanaticism, cruelty, and emptiness in their eyes, but they were still children. The child is a tabula rasa. The term is used in Sigmund Freud's psychoanalysis, the Latin designation of a clean slate personality. A personality without mental content that can be indoctrinated with any ideology without resistance, ethical, political, or moral barriers. The adult has enough knowledge and a clear distinction between the good and the evil. The children does not. They received a daily dose of Nazi instructions swallowed like mother's milk. The youngest have become defenseless absorbers of all that has been crammed into them. Western and Central Ukraine in peacetime, year 2015. A neo-Nazi military camp. The recruits aged over 6 are taught how to fire weapons and how to love their homeland properly and to kill. Neo-Nazi military patriotic camps were developed on a large scale in Ukraine under Azov units. We are the children of Ukraine. Let Moscow lie in ruins. Death, death to the Muscovites. Neo-Nazi military patriotic camps were developed on a large scale in Ukraine under Azov. Parents were quite eager to send their children there. It's better than sitting in front of a computer.
Azov people handed out booklets in our school.
And patriotism is taught by those who have combat experience to kill other children, but from the southeast. Swastika on elbows, dead head, a tattoo on the neck, and no one is confused about anything. These are the defenders of Ukraine and its ideas of independence.
This is the future of Ukraine, of our nation. We teach children to love Ukraine. Glory to Ukraine. Glory to the heroes. Glory to the nation.
Hitler's experience of creating an army of children was used in conflicts for decades after the World War II, and in some of the most brutal of ways. Minors were widely involved in intrastate armed conflicts in African countries. Children at war were spoken of as Africa's most terrible disease. In Freetown, during the civil war in Sierra Leone, some 8,000 people were mutilated by groups of juvenile fighters, the so-called West Side Boys. More than half of the military personnel of the Democratic Republic of Congo, several tens of thousands of people, are under the age of 18. In Uganda, almost 70% of the nationalist rebel group Lord Resistance Army are children and teenagers. The most active recruitment of young cadres was done by militants of the terrorist group Islamic State.
They taught us how to cut throats, how to blow ourselves up. Everyone who passed camp training was sent to the next stage of training, a tougher one. Next stage was going to war in Cabana. We were told that our assignment would be to kill Yazidis.
According to German historians, during the 2 years of existence of the paramilitary units of the Hitlerjugend or the Children's Division, more than 100,000 Hitler's teenage soldiers were killed in the battles. According to various statements, by the beginning of the World War II, more than 2 million boys and girls were members of the Hitlerjugend.
We felt like cannon fodder. But it's pretty complicated. We were brought up to fight to the death for our country, and we wanted to do everything for that. We were in an extreme frenzy and blind.
After the war, the children who had been raised to slaughter had to enter a very different world from the one they had been taught in the Hitlerjugend field camps. In western Ukraine, a local variant of such unit named Plest operated under the Ukrainian Insurgent Army. The scout organization was born during the World War I with the permission of Austria-Hungary. Later, its members played a significant role in the Ukrainian Insurgent Army. Stepan Bandera and Roman Shukhevich were from the ranks of Plest. Plest is still in operation today. The premier educational organization for millions of children and young men was funded from the budget and by Canada. Mainly Galician Ukrainian nationalists and members of the Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church who worship Bandera are at the helm of the National Scout Organization of Ukraine and are supervised by units from the United States and Canada. The Plest members revived, and later it was from these patriots that Maidan radicals and neo-Nazi organizations like Azov emerged. By the way, even though Ukraine is refraining from analogy with Hitlerite Jugend, the organization has a rigid hierarchy plus the similarity of uniforms, brown shirts and ties, as well as stripes. The award has the form of a badge with a portrait of Nazi exterminator Roman Shukhevich. The greeting is a raised hand with folded fingers. In other words, Plast is not just a youth organization with a bias towards forest tourism. By the way, back in 2019, Zelensky tried to cancel Plast, but apparently was admonished by his overseas masters who ordered not to interfere with Plast. As recently as last summer, the media reported that teenagers are conscripted into the ranks of the AFU, with Home Official Kiev is making up for losses at the front. It was announced by none other than ex-Pentagon advisor Douglas McGregor. That's when the first footage appeared. And now the entire Ukrainian state administration is imposing the liberal Hitlerite Jugend on Ukrainian children. The whole party of Zelensky are Sprachenführers.